Welcome to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivey, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization where nobody from the president on down makes any money because we are true volunteers.
Yeah.
What does RPG Research do, you ask? I know you didn't, but I'm going to tell you anyways. It is... Boy, my brain just shut off because I saw a flashlight in my side of my eyes, but I'll get to it.
Yeah.
We study the effects of all role-playing games.
Yep.
Regardless of whether or not they're a computer game, a live-action role-playing game, a tabletop role-playing game, or a hybrid of the other types of role-playing games.
Yeah.
And we use that information from our research to benefit things for education, therapy, leisure, and entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
And one of these days, we'll talk to you about what the difference between leisure and entertainment is. Because I know somebody has to be asking.
It comes down to, is it a home game or are you presenting it for the consumption of others for entertainment?
Right. If I'm playing it at my house or even at a mall or anything, if I'm doing it for me and the group that's at the table.
That's leisure.
Right. If I'm doing it for an audience.
That's entertainment.
All right. Now that you know, we'll still get into that kind of stuff later.
We'll have a deeper dive on a separate episode.
Splash.
Yes.
All right.
Now, we normally have a couple of sections. We normally start off with just chatting. Then we go into our main topic, which today is going to be jRPGs, which is a subset, for us of electronic role-playing games. And after that, we have some traps and riddles. We have some unboxing, and I think that's normally it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he said, we will talk about just random stuff for a little while, take a 15-minute intermission. We'll talk about the main topic, which today, of course, is jRPGs, also known as Japanese role-playing games.
But it's not limited to Japan.
Well, it's the stuff. We'll explain that when we get there.
That, yeah.
Then we'll have a nice intermission again. We'll do Traps and Riddles, Challenge of Champions 3.
Oh, we're on to 3 now?
Well, this is the third Challenge of Champion modules we're doing.
Okay.
And I believe it's the third module, the third encounter in Challenge of Champions 3.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll ever get to a 6-6-6 scenario, but we'll see.
If we do, then I hope that we're talking about the Satanic Panic during that episode. Yes.
Okay, so
I just wanted to quickly address why we haven't been here for the last couple of weeks. I myself have been having some issues that I had to take care of with my family, and I'm also in the middle of testing for my HCA. So that's been very, very stressful for me.
we are an extremely small organization for the group that we're in, for the talk show. If one of us is out, it kind of chews things up.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I could do this by myself if you want the sound and you want me talking to myself the entire time. And I find that I'm boring.
The banter back and forth is engaging.
Yep.
And I feel like I may be able to do it solo, but there's a certain entertainment in watching someone spiral into madness.
Well, I also can do it solo as a thing, but I don't like doing it solo.
Right.
I feel like I go into lecture mode.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like a conversation anymore.
And it's not just us two. We have Hertha in the background, and we've had it where he's out, and if he's out, it means that
we're both out.
We're both out. Yeah.
If somebody doesn't turn on the computer, we're just going, hey.
We'll be in a dark room without recording, and we'll be talking to each other, and I already mentioned, spiraling into madness, yes.
By the way, anybody want to play Call of Cthulhu with me?
It is your favorite game, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I am wearing a keeper badge on my fez here.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, has a sanity meter.
Ooh.
Yeah, so maybe during our show and tell part, we'll put this up real close so people can see the sanity meter on my fez. Well, I do want to bring up, we have discussed award-winning, by award-winning, people that made the most money on Kickstarter for role-playing games. We were there for the first $1 million Kickstarter.
Really?
Which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, or if anybody has any better memory than I, our first $1 million Kickstarter was Avatar: The Last, the Airbenders, the Avatar Legends.
Yeah.
Is what it's called. It's a tabletop role-playing game, and it's based on the Avatar cartoon series. And
not the movie.
No, the movie's based on somebody's fever dream.
I think we all have a collective fever dream, and that never existed.
Where a marginalized director somehow got racist. In casting.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough of the trying to get myself canceled. They call that friendship, don't they?
Well, that's when we're in a room just, spiraling to madness together.
Yeah. Okay, so a new one that came out is one of the highest ones that I've ever wanted to get in on. Almost $3 million.
Ooh.
2,956,154 for Terry Pratchett's Discworld RPG.
Oh, yeah.
Adventures in Ankh-Morpork. Now, it's technically over on Kickstarter, but project, which was successfully funded on November 7th, can still accept late pledges for available rewards. I did not get in on this, and I am a little sad. I'm even more sad for Hawk and his wife, Katie.
I know Katie is a huge Discworld fan.
Right?
Yeah.
And the latest, most updated, and all the cool stuff that they had in this, it's just amazing. But I do want to qualify that this is not the #1 TTRPG crowdfunding campaign of all time. Can you guess what it is?
No, I cannot.
Do you even recognize the name of Brandon Sanderson?
Yes, I do.
What is he known for?
He is a phenomenally popular author. He has a series of fantasy novels that I have not read, but I often I know that he took over Wheel of Time from someone else, but he has his own the Mistborn series. I particularly know him because I was told to read Brandon Sanderson, and then I ended up reading someone, another, author that I, thought was Brandon Sanderson, who, it wasn't Brandon Sanderson, and I was not a huge fan of the writing style. And
okay.
I ended up, I confused Brandon Sanderson for, I think, Pathrothicus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
I guess I was like, oh, Mistborn and the Name of the Wind kind of rumbled around in my mind, and ended up reading Name of the Wind, and I am not a fan of Name of the Wind.
Well, Stormlight Archives and Mistborn are what his new tabletop role-playing game is based on. It's called Cosmere RPG. Those two worlds will be the first two to be explored in the Cosmere RPG, but the Cosmere RPG has officially broken the record for biggest tabletop RPG crowdfunding campaign. The successful campaign by Brotherwise Games, which launched earlier this year, raised over $10.366 million on Kickstarter.
Wow. Breaking
the $9.5 million record previously set by Avatar Legends back in 2021.
Okay.
This is the first time that a crowdfunding campaign for a tabletop RPG has broken the $10 million mark.
I know that the Mistborn fans are wide and varied and very, very passionate, and I know not to mess with them.
The Avatar Legends, I remember at the time going that this was actually the 13th largest Kickstarter period.
Nice.
Right now, I have no idea. I'm sure things have gotten much higher.
Oh yeah.
But for a tabletop RPG to bring in $10 million, $10,366,000 is impressive. And I'm not sure if this is more to say about the world of RPGs or more to say about Brandon Sanderson.
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, it is a good combination.
Yeah.
This is another one I did not get in on. I'm not getting in on a lot of these things because I keep forgetting to win the lottery. It's on my to-do list, you know?
Yeah. Have you figured out a strategy yet?
Dig for oil?
To win the lottery?
I knew I was doing something wrong.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Now, the other thing I was going to bring up for this was that Dungeons and Dragons 50th anniversary is also kicking off an immersive quest live experience. And some of this will be done at Universal Studios.
Okay.
But
Orlando
Canada,
or which Universal Studios? Because remember, I grew up in Florida.
Yes, it's the other one.
It's the other one.
In California.
California. So the one that's closer to me now.
Yes. So we might be able to go get that. I think we should do it as an RPG outing, not as a we're trying to show us off like we go when we go to conventions. But Dungeons and Dragons, the immersive quest live experience details have been received. It's a new 60 minutes that you have to travel across country. But the first one will be in Ontario next month.
I can't make it to that one.
Yeah, that's why we have to wait for the one that's going down there.
Yeah.
This will be partially set in Waterdeep with a recreation of the Yawning Portal Inn. And the tickets range Canadian. $46 to $90.
That's pricey.
It is.
That is pricey.
The immersive quest will run for 4 months in Mississauga before moving on to the next North American city, and which is going to be down in California. And it is a immersive experience, so you'll be kind of doing a LARP, but one of those LARPs where you can't get hurt, nobody's going to hit you, or do those things. But you might meet a beholder. I'm not saying for sure.
Okay.
You're on a quest to recover a powerful magic item from the clutches of a villainous dragon. It will feature immersive theater, cinematic video, and multimedia interactive stations. And it'll take you approximately 60 minutes to complete it, with a marketplace with various goods and themed food, drinks also included afterwards. Now, is it wrong for me to say that you can't have an evil dragon in Waterdeep? Because there is a magic dome around Waterdeep to keep out dragons?
You're gonna risk people's immersion by bringing up lore.
Okay. Huh? But maybe this is after the dragon heist, and because there's a possibility for you to interact with that staff. Maybe your rogue stole it and left Waterdeep. I don't know.
John, are you subtly trying to tell me and warn me that when it comes to California, you're going to be in the picket lines by rule loring that they're not allowed because of lore?
But I'll just carry one sign that says,
actually.
and that will be it.
This is your public service announcement that never allow rule loring to break immersion.
It's story trumps rules.
Yes.
Even if you break canon of the story.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, we're about halfway through this first section. We didn't have a lot of talk about in these scheduled talking stuff. But let's kick in deeper into our JRP concept before. There's an argument that has been brought up.
Admittedly, I'm the one who introduced this argument to RPG research, and it has been contentious.
Only a little, because
only a little bit.
because some of us are stubborn.
Yes.
So, first of all, we can claim that the original Legend of Zelda qualifies for the J in a JRPG. That's Japanese role-playing game.
Yeah.
It's obviously Japanese. But does it qualify for the RPG part?
Yes.
Is it a role-playing game? So what I like to do is I like to go over Hawk Robinson's rules of or definitions of role-playing games and participation is what you need.
Yeah.
These can be found in any of Hawk Robinson's handbooks.
Yeah. So we need.
We're coming out with the 3rd edition pretty soon.
So Hearth is on my side, but this is going to be a knockdown, drag out.
No.
We have to establish.
Okay.
What are the rules? What are the parameters of specifically a CRPG?
Yeah. Because that's one of the things we have a firm ish definition of what a tabletop role-playing game is.
Yes.
And we have a 4-part definition of what a role-playing game is. And then we have a 9-part definition of what's required to participate in a role-playing game. So we're going to go down each one of these sections, and we're going to see, does Zelda...
The original Zelda.
The original Zelda.
Yeah.
We can bring up later whether or not, once we've addressed the original Zelda, we can bring up if somebody later does a better job at it.
I will admit that the later versions of Zelda, it is easier to make the argument that it is an RPG.
Right.
Yeah. I'm making the stand, and this is my hill for you guys to try and kill me on, that the original Zelda from NES is an RPG.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. So first thing we got is part 1.
Yeah.
When I give you these definitions, by the way, I am giving you the definition for a typical tabletop role-playing game such as Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Dungeons and Dragons set the framework. We are going to work off of that framework and see how the computer version
adapts these concepts.
Adapts to those concepts. Now, some things are going to be automatically altered to affect the new medium.
Yeah.
Okay, so for part 1, seating. It's a seated, cooperative, interactive storytelling recreation activity with structured rules in shared imaginary setting. Okay, seated. Most people play their computer role-playing games seated. You could do it seated, but that's the same thing for tabletop role-playing games.
Right.
Seated and standing or lounging on a futon are all alternatives.
I think that's an easy one. That's a gimme. That is not the one that we're going to argue.
That will not argue. I mean, the only thing we can do is just we got structured rules. Of course, there's rules in the computer.
Yeah, they programmed it in.
Yep. And there's a shared imaginary setting. Well, everybody who's playing is going to share it. But at the time that you're playing this as a solo, it is not shared.
Yeah.
But then again, in tabletop role-playing games, we do have solo versions. So it still fits part 1.
Right. And honestly, when it comes to all CRPGs, because they are programming the world, that's a world that everyone who is participating in the game, be it a solo game or a multiplayer game, they're sharing in that world.
Well, they're sharing the experience because, one of the things at conventions and people talking about old games. Hey, you remember in Death of the Witch King did you face the green zombie? No, I went to the left and I fought the blue zombie. You got shared stories because everybody understands the concept. So everybody there who has ever played the original Legend of Zelda has stories to share.
Yeah.
And they're going to be remarkably similar because this is in an open world.
Right. The the constraints of a video game is far more limiting than the imagination.
Right. Some future games get pretty darn close to that.
And the day that...
But it's an illusion.
The day that a computer can out-crazy me and the nonsense that I can put in my worlds...
Well, you'll be in the nursing home at that point anyways.
Oh yeah, in that case, yeah, it's going to be even weirder because I won't be able to remember what I did last.
Yeah. All right, now.
Okay, so.
Part 2, participants.
Part 2, participants.
Participants include a facilitator and referee known as the game master.
Yep.
In this case, the computer is the game master.
Correct.
So we're already allowing that.
Yeah.
And one or more role-playing game players, RPGs. That's the person who's running. Controlling one or more. Now, here's where we get some of the sticky stuff.
Yeah, this is where it's sticky.
Quantitatively and qualitatively well-defined and evolving player characters, or the PC.
Right.
Generally distinctively separate from the player. The question is, where we have to argue on Zelda. Does Zelda...
Link. You're playing Link.
I know you're playing Link.
Yeah.
But does Zelda, the game, who happens to also be the name of the princess, allow for character growth, evolution?
Yes.
Well, there's an argument to say no. The argument is that he stays the same character. He does not get any more evolution out of his character other than gear. Counter argument, of course, is that you get an extra heart.
Art pieces, yeah.
Is that enough?
I've seen some games where, yeah, you pick up more gear and whatnot, but the only thing that increases is the amount of health you have.
You've seen some, well, in a computer game, have you seen an RPG where the only thing you get as you grow up is health? Don't you need...
You've played Beck Me. You played Beck Me.
Yeah, but in Beck Me, I learn new spells. I learn new skills.
Fighter. A Beck Me fighter.
Learns new skills.
No. Without the advanced stuff, you swing a sword. The only thing that really goes up
is your hit points. And your... Okay,
yeah.
That is one way to argue it. Yeah, it takes to get 4 heart pieces. That's leveling. Well, you know what? Another thing. Now, I'm not trying to argue your side for you, but
start to win.
Well, we got a lot to walk in here.
Yeah,
because I have been doing something about it. Doesn't Zelda have to learn new skills?
Yeah.
You don't start with the spin attack.
No. Well, mind you, we're talking about the original game. The original game did not have the spin attack.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to remember it that way, but, you know, I'm old.
Yeah.
Okay, so did Link learn skills?
So, there was a... It wasn't necessarily a skill, it was an aspect of the Master Sword, where if you were at full health, the Master Sword had projectiles. But that's an aspect of the Master
weapon.
Sword.
Yeah, that's not... Okay, so in the original, audience members included, can you think of anything other than gaining max hit points where you learned a new skill that wasn't directly an aspect of the equipment itself? You don't jump.
No.
You don't... I can't think of a single skill you learn.
No.
I mean, do you have to learn to use the shield?
You have to pick it up.
Then you automatically know how.
Yeah.
Not a lot of growth there.
I'm not claiming that there's a lot of growth.
Yeah.
I'm saying though there is some growth. By the bare minimum of his health does increase.
Okay. Is there a tabletop equivalent to that? And you're saying Beck Me, the fighter, all he gains is hit points and equipment.
The first couple of levels, yeah. The only thing that you're really, gaining of just basic advantages in just the fighter, your hit points go up.
Yeah.
And I've heard, heard you complain about it. You start off with 1 hit point, and you're like, I just need that one more hit point. I want to level up so I can get that one more hit point. I've heard you complain about it.
Not in a fighter. Never.
I know.
No, it's a wizard.
It's a wizard.
The wizard who actually gets more skills and starts off with the lowest possible armor class, the lowest possible hit points, and just enough spells to be useless.
Right.
But if you can make this completely useless character last 50 times its allotted lifespan, it'll be the most powerful person in the entire campaign.
Right. And if we're doing basic from Dungeons and Dragons, for a fighter, did the equivalent of their base attack bonus ever go up?
Do the fighter's base attack?
Yeah, in the first 3 levels. In basic. Does your chance to hit ever increase?
I think so. For the fighter.
Yeah, in the first 3 levels?
I think so, but I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
And more importantly, is that limiting it to the first 3 levels, that's like saying that, no, let's put that joke that they put on Iron Man, what are you without this suit? And he gives off this huge list of things.
Yeah.
But then Batman gets to add, and I can fight.
Yeah, and I can fight. Yeah. Now, the reason why I'm saying I'm limiting it to the first 3 levels is basic, without going into expert, companion, masters, or immortals, is still an RPG.
But it's not, well, I guess you could call it separate because they sold it separately.
Yeah, they sold it separately. There's a lot of people who got that red one. And
so Link never gets past 3rd level, is what
possibly,
you're saying.
yeah.
He just gets more treasure than any D&D player ever could get.
And foreshadowing, when it comes to JRPGs, there's a lot of grinding. He may be going, getting a lot of health and not much anything past that. But there's still growth.
Okay, let's see. 3. Action declaration. Each participant verbally declares imaginary actions taken by the created PC or GM-controlled entities which are not physically acted out by the player. Now, this is a medium separation. Even in tabletop role-playing games, verbally can be replaced with sign language, passing notes, color codes. There's ways of communicating that do not require verbally, especially when you're trying to deal with people who can't hear or people who have other issues. But you obviously are declaring your actions through your button pushes.
Yeah.
And the results determination is right there.
Are programmed in.
Right. And it's not random.
Correct.
But it is when pixel A covers pixel B, it's a hit.
Yeah.
What the professionals call a hitbox.
Right. Sometimes it's random where the monster jumps.
Well,
and
sometimes, but that's
and I believe it's
the results determination.
Random and static, and a lot of stuff is static.
Well, we're talking about results determination, and that are some results determined by agreed fiat.
Yeah.
While more challenging results are determined by a combination of narrative and mathematical calculations that include static and random variables, plus situational modifiers enabling participants to vicariously experience through their PCs the abilities often beyond their player character's own capacity and imaginary consequences of those actions as defined by the game's rules and the GM. The measurable PC and narrative progression is usually tracked by paper and pencil. So your progress is tracked by the computer. All this stuff is run by the computer, but it does simulate what you do in a tabletop.
Yes.
Just behind the curtains. So, according to the 4 parts of this, the only part that can be argued is whether or not Zelda evolves.
Link.
Link evolves. Yes.
And here's my argument why the health.
I do know better.
Yeah.
I do know better that Link is the character in all but the latest of the Zelda series, where Zelda is actually
the character. And I do want to play that. So
my son's playing it right now.
So here's my argument why I feel like those health, I have a two-part argument for the health containers should be considered growth. One, as of 5th edition, we have codified that milestone leveling is a thing. You can become more powerful by getting to certain parts of the story. And those heart containers you have to get to a certain part of the story to get them.
Okay.
Once you get them, they cannot be taken away from you ever after that.
Right. And you're right. There's not an experience-based leveling in Legend of Zelda. There is a milestone level. You can actually get to play as Zelda. Well, the argument about whether or not you're playing as Zelda counts when you're playing. What starts with
Sheik?
Sheik.
Yeah.
And you play Sheik in the original?
No, that Sheik doesn't show up until Ocarina of Time.
But if he's saying you actually get to play as Zelda in the latest game, yes, we're agreeing on that. Yes.
So the next thing is, if you compare the heart containers to nearly every other equipment that he gets, he can lose the other equipment. You can run out of bombs. You can run out of your arrows. You can throw your boomerang, and it, you do something wrong, and it doesn't come back. You can break your shield. You can lose just about anything else. Those heart containers, once you have them, they're there.
Okay. I think we would have a better argument if there was actually some skill progression.
Yeah.
Now, there's also some things here that I think are necessary or needed for an RPG, especially a jRPG. And that is your decisions in social interactions.
Yeah.
Matter.
There are very limited social interactions in Zelda, but there are.
And do they have an actual impact on the outcome of the story?
Yes. The impact is how difficult are the progressive fights going to be. But
it doesn't change the story at all.
No,
it changes the difficulty level, but it doesn't change the story.
Right, and I can point to a ton of... and this is actually one of the things that, in my research for jRPGs, I kind of came across where, with a lot of jRPGs, you're on a railroad. You're not changing the story.
Yeah, this is very railroaded.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it gives you the illusion of an open world, it definitely isn't. You are being railroaded within railroad stations along the way.
Yeah, and I'll give you a perfect example. Would you argue that Final Fantasy VII is an RPG?
Yes.
You start off as Cloud.
Right.
You do not get to customize that character. That is Cloud.
Yes.
At the end, Cloud fights Strife.
Right.
Is there any way to not have that outcome? Other than you lose the game.
I was going to say, I can lose. Your social aspects, do those...
Doesn't change the fact that at the end you fight Sephiroth.
Right. It doesn't change the story at all.
It doesn't change the story. So
that would be an advanced game.
Yeah.
But do you even need social to consider it an RPG? Are you role-playing as that character?
Yeah. There is a story element to it. There is a story element to Zelda. It's a very rudimentary story, but it is still
that's not changing. There's a story to first-person shooters.
Yeah, there is.
And you're not going to call that an RPG.
No, I won't.
You're not going to call... what is the game I used to refer to as Samus? Metroid. Metroid is not an RPG.
Right.
It's a side-scroller.
There isn't a interactive where you're dealing with NPCs much in Metroid.
Even Castlevania has a story.
Yeah, I would argue that Castlevania has more RPG, and I'd have to do more research into it, but I could make an argument that Castlevania is an RPG. I know it's ugly,
Yeah,
but to say it, I feel like to represent to rep another Jamaican, it may be technically correct, which is the best type of correct.
it's barely correct. I don't know. Are my standards for what a role-playing game is too high? Because if obviously a Zelda can qualify as a role-playing game with no role-playing, because that's where I kind of draw the line at. I mean, the growth was a big thing, right? Yeah. The evolving character is a big thing, which technically, on the very slimmest technicality, you can say that there is some kind of growth there.
Yeah.
But you cannot say there is any role-playing.
So, I would argue that Mario Brothers is not a role-playing game because all he does is get equipable powers that he can lose. There is no growth.
Yeah.
He gets a super mushroom that increases his health. He can lose that super mushroom. It's not like,
Are we talking original Mario Brothers, where he's just bouncing around and gets nothing but temporary boosts?
I would argue no. He doesn't evolve.
Yeah, Mario World, stuff. When he's running across the thing, he's not getting anything.
Right.
And he doesn't learn.
No.
The princess is in another castle. He never learns.
Yeah. And him... Okay, he can make a choice of which roles he goes to, but there isn't a narrative decision. Right. Whereas with Link, you can, there are a couple of merchants that you can spend your rupees on.
Buying equipment is not close enough to a narrative thing. All you're doing is clicking on a list and putting them over there. You're not having a conversation.
I know.
So it's
far more than Mario Brothers.
It is. Yeah. It sure beats Mario Brothers in the interaction. You buy story. Yeah, okay. Zelda is... I'm agreeing with you a little bit. But the whole idea that there needs to be some role-playing in an RPG kind of hurts the argument for most computer games.
Yeah.
Even ones that are labeled as role-playing games.
Mm-hmm. I would argue that there's a number of... there are a few role-playing games where if you take a look at under the hood, there isn't much role-play happening. There isn't much decisions happening. You're there for the story.
Right.
You're being told a story.
And, I mean, some of the interactive fiction actually does it better than the computer role-playing games, where your choices don't matter. There are other ones where your choices definitely matter. Mm-hmm. What is it called? Tales? Not Telltale. Telltale is an interactive fiction.
Yeah.
Fable.
Yeah.
Fable, your decisions and your actions and whether or not you act like a good person.
Yeah.
Okay, define role. All right. That's a fair question.
It is.
And my moving a spaceship, firing at little creepy crawlies as they slowly descend from the sky, is not role-playing. I am controlling an avatar, but it doesn't it's not a character.
Would you say that making narrative decisions for a character would be, playing a role?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not making narrative decisions, if you aren't doing any interaction with a NPC that is even slightly impactful. And I do not call going to a merchant and selecting an item off a list without having any conversation with that merchant. Doesn't count as role playing.
They're there to utilize a game mechanic.
Then playing as Han Solo in Star Wars game is not role playing. Which Star Wars role playing game are you talking about?
And
I'm assuming it's a Star Wars video game you're talking about, because we're discussing role playing.
Unless he's making the joke that Indiana Jones has absolutely no impact on the movie. SWTOR.
Okay.
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
All right. So I have not played that. So tell me, can you play Han Solo as your character?
I don't know if you can play Han Solo in The Old Republic, but I know that you can create your own character, and there is you can make decisions in SWTOR.
If I can make narrative decisions in SWTOR, and I can play Han Solo for whatever reason, is creating your own character what it takes?
No, because then if creating your own character is what it takes to make it a role-playing game, then Final Fantasy VII fails. You make no characters.
Right. Also, suddenly your first-person shooter becomes a
far more of an RPG than Final Fantasy VII.
Right. Even though all you see of your character is actually its butt as you're crawling around the screen.
That is a slippery slope that slides upside down, I think.
You're... Etcher couldn't draw that one.
I feel it really comes down to I think we may have to have a better definition of what a role is.
Well, you know what we really need to have a definition of? What is a break?
I think it's about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
but it was 15 minutes ago.
Okay, so we're gonna take a 15-minute or 10-minute break.
Yeah, and then we're going to talk about jRPGs.
The real meat.
Yeah. We've determined that Zelda, by the barest
minimum,
the microscopic thin line of technicality, might be considered a RPG.
And this is one of the reasons why I brought it up, because I felt like, okay, this is a weak point. It's either going to pass or fail on that bare minimum, and it may mean that we have to update because we're RPG research, we may have to update what we qualify as an RPG. And we may have to qualify.
Well, I think part of the thing is, whether you qualify it as a good RPG or a barely meets the qualifications RPG.
Right.
I'm still going to argue that Zelda, except for some of the much later stuff,
absolutely,
does not qualify as a good RPG. They qualify as good games.
Yeah.
But not an RPG.
No, you said a good RPG. I wasn't making the argument of it's a good RPG.
Yeah, no.
I'm just saying.
It just is an RPG.
Based on the definition, that's an RPG. Okay. 15 minutes?
15 minutes. See you guys in a little bit, and then we will continue this topic with this great insanity.
Yeah. See you in 15. Okay. Welcome back to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivey, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. Follow the links, rpgresearch.com. Learn more about this fascinating 501c3 nonprofit. I am so excited. All right.
So we just got done having a very riveting discussion about the technicality on whether or not Zelda, the original Zelda on the NES, counted as a role-playing game. And
well, we actually specifically were stating whether or not it was a jRPG.
Right.
And by the definition of the fact that it was made in Japan, it's Japanese. But like anime, one of the questions that has to come up when you talk about Japanese role-playing games is, and I will say it in the anime way because I have my brain wrapped around that anyway.
Yeah.
So is it an anime only if it's made in the Japanime zone of Nippon, or is it just a sparkling cartoon?
Well, I mean, all cartoons are sparkling unless you're watching some of those like European ones where it's like, oh, look, I'm watching Depression on film.
Oh, there's a probably not made by Disney Mickey Mouse cartoon that is so dreary and dark that people have supposedly committed suicide after watching it.
Oh, so something darker than the one cartoon about rabbits, Watership Down.
Oh, actually, yeah, I've never heard of anybody committing suicide after watching or reading Watership Down, but my wife is tired of me telling people how
how messed up that show is.
Yeah.
So
the trauma.
Yes.
It's become traumatic for her to hear about it.
Yeah. So, a really, really easy way for anyone to win the, oh, I watch this really, really traumatic children's show is to bring up Watership Down. I enjoyed Land Before Time. I enjoyed Secret of the Nim. Okay? I can understand how that can evoke very, very strong emotions because John Bluth's good like that. The only traumatizing, cartoon I've ever watched was Watership Down. That's a messed up cartoon.
It will warp your view of cuddly bunnies for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You must watch it.
If you're 18 and older and consent to effectively watching a... I've likened it to watching an animated rabbit snuff film.
I think it kind of reminds me more of World War II.
Yeah. Well, no, World War I. Trenches.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It is extremely brutal.
Yeah.
It's very emotional. And
it is gory.
Yeah. And the funny thing was that you didn't have to be 18 when I watched it.
Yeah. But back to JRPGs.
Right. So we determined that Zelda is basically barely. I mean, the most thinnest of margins. Electron microscope to see that line.
Yeah.
But anyways, so...
And for me, and this is something that I mentioned offline, is one of the reasons why I even brought this up to RPG research is if you're going to give me some parameters, I'm going to test those parameters. And I feel like, I don't feel like Zelda should be considered an RPG. But based off of the criteria that we have, it does. So I think we need to update our criteria. And it's one of the things that Herth mentioned, we need to better define what role is.
That, yes. And the fact that, at least with, when you're doing a tabletop role-playing game, you're wondering about the social interaction.
Yes.
Part of the original Dungeons and Dragons, just after Chainmail and, the original box set, which was not much more advanced than a war game with fantasy elements. Chainmail was just a war game with fantasy elements.
Yeah.
But the original Dungeons & Dragons wasn't much more than that. And the idea of taking on a role with a character of personality for some players was lost.
Yeah.
And, you know, social interaction was not something they were looking for. They were looking for kick down the door, kill the monster, take the loot.
Yeah. They were looking for dungeon crawls. Yeah.
And so early computer RPGs can't be too badly flooded for missing the social pillar of role-playing games.
So, to me, that sounds like you're conceding more ground to my argument.
I didn't say I could be happy about it.
I never requested your happiness.
So yeah, the question is, it qualifies as an RPG, but it certainly doesn't qualify as a good one.
No, never made that argument either.
So what is as I argue, a jRPG, Japanese role-playing game, a style? Is it a region? Or, I mean, obviously, if I'm using the old 1980s term of Japanime, which is Japanese animation, or Nippon cartoons, then it is a regional location.
Right.
But can Koreans make anime?
So, and this is my personal opinion, I feel when it comes to anime is more based off of cultural touchstones, altering the story and what is presented in the story and how the story is presented, than where it is made and the aesthetics of the piece.
Because we can definitely give good arguments that Avatar's an anime.
In fact, and Hearth, I apologize right now because I didn't send you this link, but there is an absolutely wonderful video on YouTube by Mother's Basement where he makes a very long-winded argument, and this is where he's the one who turned my mind onto this concept that Avatar: The Last Airbender is an anime. It and more if we're basing anime on where it's made, then because all of the in-betweening on The Simpsons are done in Korea, then The Simpsons are anime. It's not where it's made then.
Right. All right. Hearth Holmes said, is chess a role-playing game?
No,
it is a social game and has a concept of growth by getting your pawn to the other side. Okay. First of all, chess is no more of a role-playing game than boxing. They're both social games.
Yeah.
In the fact that two or more participants.
But the pieces don't socialize.
Yes. The pieces don't socialize. The pieces don't have characters. The pieces don't have skills. And raising your a pawn to a queen is not character growth. It's just a single piece getting a different technology. Now, I have read a book that churned a chess match, a real-life recorded chess match between two grandmasters, and made a fantasy story out of it.
That sounds amazing, but the basis is not a...
Yeah, the chess game was not a role-playing game.
Yeah.
I'm not moving Harold the pawn up to face Geraldine the rook.
So, I do want to get back to our discussion on JRPGs and specifically the differences with Western RPGs, but I've come across a particular mindworm that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Okay.
And this would affect the names of the various pawns and pieces that you mentioned in your hypothetical thank you so much for finding it. Yes, that's the video. Avatar is an anime. F you, fight me. That's a YouTube video.
You'll have to send that link to my stuff because I won't be able to click on that link from here.
Right.
Because I think I would like to watch that. And yeah, I agree. Avatar is an anime.
Oh yeah, he does a Mother's Basement does phenomenal researching. But when it comes to chess, all pawns can turn into any other piece except the king. Right?
No.
Is a pawn can turn into anything other than the king?
No.
What can it turn into?
It can turn into a queen.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh no, you can turn it into any other piece as well. It's just the queen is the most powerful piece. You can turn it into a rook. You can turn it into a bishop. You can turn it into a knight. He's looking it up right now.
Any piece. Pawn promotion.
Yeah, pawn promotion.
Ability to promote is often a critical factor in endgame and thus an important consideration in opening and middle game strategy for pawns threatening promoted, thus available asset must. Due to the pawn's ability to promote it, having an extra pawn can often be a decisive advantage. In general, a pawn is more valuable further advanced and closer promotion result benefits the pawn. Enemy territory cannot control important squares. Paused. A passed pawn is a pawn with no enemy pawns, which is a pawn piece. Okay, I'm not seeing where it says what you can promote it into.
This is critical for the next part.
An under promotion is a promotion to a knight, rook, or bishop.
Yep.
Though these pieces are less powerful than the queen, there are some situations where under promotion is advantageous.
Yep.
In practical, many under promotions are inconsequential, described as silly jokes.
But it can happen.
It can happen. You can be anything but a king.
Right. It can be anything but a king.
I've been playing chess, longer than you've been alive, and I did not know that.
Right. So,
of course, I've never been a pro.
So, the pawn can turn into any piece other than the king. Okay?
Okay. I now concede that weird fact.
It means, but because we know that the queen is female, it means that all the pawns are female, and the only male piece on the board is the king. Chess is a harem war.
Bullcrap. Excuse my language. I don't swear in general.
I love doing this to him.
You're wrong.
Down to his core, he doesn't like this.
No. It's obvious.
It goes against his religion.
No, it's not even it goes against my religion. But a pawn can dress up as the queen. We have drag queens to prove it.
Right. But
it's a promotion and a rank, not a gender transfer. This is not a transgender issue here, for God's sakes. What's this have to do with RPGs?
Oh no, this is just I said this is a mind worm that I've enjoyed, and now you have to deal with it too.
No. Now I feel like Kennedy and the worm has died.
Anyway, back to the difference between Western RPGs.
You got me to swear on air.
Okay, back to Western RPGs versus jRPGs with the focus on what jRPGs are. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of its relationship to anime, I wanted to knock out a couple of things.
Okay.
So, one of the things that, because I was trying to rack my mind, even during the time that we had off, of what is the difference, it basically came down to a whole bunch of cultural stuff. One of the primary ones that I came across is that jRPGs, they have generally a bit more storytelling and a lot less individuality. And what I mean by that is there's a lot less customization of characters, either by designing a character in the beginning or making a character developing decisions later. They tend to give you a character that you play, and you play as that character, as opposed to allowing you to make a character or giving you a character that you're playing and then allow you to modify that character with decisions. I mentioned, for example, Final Fantasy VII. Cloud's personality doesn't change.
No.
It's defined by the story.
And he does have mechanical growth.
Yeah, he does. But in terms of emotional and narrative growth, none.
None. Yeah.
It is predefined. And it is difficult to find a character, I feel, in JRPGs where you have a branching, emotional narrative growth that can be decided on.
Yeah, like Persona.
Right.
You don't. You're the same person, and you don't change your mind about anything.
Yeah. If anything, and mind you, I don't have an experience with playing Persona, but I've come to understand that it's not that you're changing, it is that you're understanding who you already were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a form of growth.
Yeah.
That is a form of personal growth.
That is understanding, but that is understanding how deep the cavern is, as opposed to digging a new side of the cavern. Yeah. Right.
Now, one of the things that I've always been told about difference between JRPGs and Western RPGs, other than regionality and art style, is their story elements are more interpersonal story.
Yeah.
Character to character relationships rather than save the princess from the castle.
Right. And this is one of the things that I wanted
Despite Mario.
Yeah. This is... Or Zelda.
Yeah, or Zelda.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that I wanted to get into, which kind of gets into anime, where I mentioned that there are cultural touchstones. One of the major ones that I've come across is in Eastern storytelling, there is a different type of storytelling. Whereas in Western philosophy, we tend to have our 3-act structures, our hero's journey, and whatnot. There's another one called, and I'm going to butcher this, Kisho Ten Ketsu, which is considered the 4-act structure.
Okay.
Right. So this is something particular, and it's very, very common in a lot of Eastern storytelling.
So what's the 4th act? Or the 3rd act, which is different? Which is...
Actually, all of them are different.
They're all different. Okay.
They're all different. Because the philosophy of the story is different. Oftentimes with the Kisho Ten Ketsu, you don't need a conflict. And it's still an engaging story.
Well, there's an argument that the slice of life storytelling came from the Eastern philosophy of storytelling. This
and I argue with this. Yeah, absolutely.
What is it? The story about nothing. That was a very famous sitcom. But
I don't like the idea of Seinfeld being a slice of life. That is a horrible life to have a slice of. I don't like that.
Look, we agreed that Zelda was an RPG.
I don't like that pie. I'll accept that. That's pie.
Yeah, it's a slice of life, but it's not a good one.
Fine. You've had your revenge. So, with Kisho Ten Ketsu, these are the 4 parts. There's Ki, Sho, Ten, and then Ketsu. With Ki, that is your intro. Basically, it is your life as you normally are, right? They introduce you to what the status quo is. With Sho, then there is a development. There isn't necessarily a hook, but something changes or there further expansion into what your life is. That's the second part. Notice, still no real development.
Okay.
No, oh, things have changed. Although sometimes there is a change, it doesn't really affect things all that much. And I actually have an example later that is a really good example of this.
Just out of curiosity, is this a anime example or
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an anime example.
Okay, that's good because I'll understand it.
Then there's 10, which is the twist. And the twist isn't like a cliffhanger like we are used to. It is, oh, this is where the major change happens, and now with Ketsu, you then have to deal with the consequences of that change.
Right. And that change might not necessarily be a conflict.
Right.
It just be a change in your environment or a...
Normally, the twist has to be pretty significant.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I moved to the countryside.
More.
More?
Yeah, more. And I'll get into that example.
let's get that.
So, there's an anime that I absolutely love. If you have the time to watch the movie, it is beautiful. It's called Your Name.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So, in the key portion, you're introduced to a boy and a girl, and they're living their lives. One lives in the city, one lives in the country.
Right.
Okay? Show the development. Something happens. The boy wakes up in the girl's body, the girl wakes up in the boy's body. And they have to live in each other's lives.
And they keep swapping back
And they keep on swatching back and forth. And they can't determine why the swaps are happening. But now this is a new status quo. They learn who the other is by living their life.
Right.
Right.
Now, isn't this a time travel story too?
This is where the twist comes in.
Yes.
Eventually, the swaps stop happening, and you're stuck with just the boy. And he's like, I like this relationship that I was developing, weirdly enough with this girl. Why haven't we swapped? And he starts doing research. And he figures out where her town is. And he finds out that the town that she was in was destroyed by a meteor.
Yeah.
Before the swaps started. Which means the swaps weren't just across space, they're across time as well.
It was a significant twist.
Yeah, it was a significant twist. And then Ketsu, dealing with the consequences of that twist, they got one more swap. He tried to give her as much information as possible because now we realize, oh, this is across time as well. We may be able to do something to save the people of the village. They're not going to be able to save the village. And they are able to do it. And beautifully at the end, they save the villagers, cut a number of years, and they come across each other later. Kind of like, oh, and like, I recognize it. Yeah. And that's where it ends, and it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful... So, now to challenge you, give me an RPG that follows that format.
Final Fantasy II.
Okay.
I had already thought of this. Okay.
Well, I'd hope you already had an answer, because if you didn't expect that question to come out, you haven't worked with me before.
So, Final Fantasy II, mind you, my experience with jRPGs includes Final Fantasy 1 through 7. My favorite is Final Fantasy 6, but in terms of this...
My favorite is 10, but, who cares?
Yeah, I haven't played 10, so I don't have an opinion on that.
Yeah.
But in Final Fantasy 2, not the American Final Fantasy 2, the Japanese Final Fantasy 2.
Right.
You start off with 4 characters. And, actually, yeah, you start off with 4 characters.
Ichi, Ni...
I forget what their names are.
I just counted to 4 in Japanese.
And there's an inciting incident where
Korean.
You're in a battle, and it's a really, really tough battle. And you lose. And you wake up, 3 of your characters are there. And there's this kind of like swapping out with various NPCs that join the party and whatnot through the rest of the story. So they kind of skipped over the key where it's like, oh, introduced to this is your party development, and now you're dead. You lost one of your party members. That is the show part. The twist, the mid boss that you've been dealing with for the majority of the story is that fourth member, and he's got amnesia.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And after that, you have the development of trying to fix the amnesia and dealing with that and bringing him back on and completing the party with this dark, edgy character that used to be one of your major villains and defeating its final boss at the end. So yeah, there you go.
Okay. So what are we concluding about the JRP? Is it we determined it's not a local thing.
I don't think it's a local thing.
Yeah. It's not regionalization.
No.
It is a difference in style, maybe a difference in gameplay.
I think there are certain weights that it comes to, style and gameplay, but I really feel it comes down to the story and how that story, the cultural touchstones that are influencing the way that the story is being presented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we say cultural touchstones, we're not just referring to Japanese stories.
Yeah.
If you look at, and using animes as examples,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at Steam Boy,
Mm-hmm.
or if you look at Howl's Moving Castle,
Yeah.
those aren't Japanese stories.
No.
Hokorosco is not a Japanese story. It's a French story.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, though, with especially Pokoroso and honestly anything Miyazaki, the way the story is presented is very much Eastern, though.
No, I'm not definitely not arguing. No, I'm mentioning specific, definitely canonical
Yeah.
anime, and in this case, Japanime, Japanese specific anime, that they're have the cultural touchstones of Japanese storytelling,
Yeah.
while being a Western story.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we talked about Studio Ghibli.
Yes.
Yeah. The artists who did a lot of Studio Ghibli stuff, like Studio Ghibli is very much anime. But before there was Studio Ghibli, those artists worked on a Western cartoon that is a personal favorite of my wife.
Is it dragons?
The Last Unicorn.
Oh yeah.
That's
And nobody was going to mistake that for an anime.
correct. No one was going to mistake that as an anime. The Last Unicorn is most definitely Western, done by the same people who eventually become Studio Ghibli.
Here's a and we are running out of time, but I wanted to Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch.
Not familiar with it.
It's practically a Studio Ghibli.
Wouldn't be surprised.
It is.
What's it missing?
It's a Nintendo DS. It is. It's a role-playing game that feels like an anime.
Okay.
Except when you're doing the grinding, the necessary grind. It's Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. It's an action role-playing game that uses third-person perspective, and it is beautiful. And I believe it's Studio Ghibli or Miyazaki.
Miyazaki, yeah.
You need to research this.
I will see if I can get that in with all the other studying that I've been doing.
And it has Western parts into it, like the Western Fae.
Ooh. I want to see Eastern lens on Western Fae. Oh yeah, that absolutely looks. That is anime feel all over it.
It is. It is a Japanime RPG.
See, now you have me give me. You want to know what I want to see?
What's that?
Okay.
Oh, they made a movie off of it too.
I want to see, through the lens of the Eastern, Eastern perspective, creating an anime, Oberon and Titania. The story of the.
You want Midsummer Night's Dream? Do you want Tempest in the Teacup?
Yes.
Yeah, you want both. Okay.
I want them to tackle the British Isle Fae. I want to see that.
I think Nino Kuni does a little of that.
Okay.
But
I want to deep dive on it.
Well, one of the upcoming ones we did, we did a Baldur's Gate. We can do an upcoming deep dive on, say, Nino Kuni or something like that. And then we can discuss its use in therapy, education, and or just plain entertainment.
I'm going to have to make sure that I get through it, but I have to carve out time first.
What do you have for a system?
For a system?
Yeah. Do you have a PlayStation? Because it's a PlayStation game.
I know that I have a PlayStation. I don't know which one.
I mean, you can also get it on the Twitch, or not Twitter. No. Switch.
I know I have a Switch. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I might be able to lend it to you.
We'll collaborate on that. Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. All right, we are well over our time for break. We're going to take a 10-minute break before we come back to. Oh, good. You have PS4.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely work.
We also have a Switch. Yeah.
Well, we'll get back to you, and we can definitely discuss that. Maybe I should invite my son for one of these conversations.
We'll have to, I think that's a possibility. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we're going to go on a break. We're going to come back in 10 minutes, and we're going to discuss traps and riddles.
Yes.
And then we will do some unboxing, and then we'll go home finally.
Yes, and I need some rest because I've got a test tomorrow. And it's been stressing me out.
All right.
Yeah.
See you shortly.
See you in 15. There's 15 or 10.
I was going for 10 because we like to start at 8, which is now 9.
We will see you at 10.
Go.
Welcome back to RPG Research, the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivey, and this is
John Welker, Vice President of RPG Research. As he's already told you, we are a talk show.
Yep.
And
the RPG Talk Show. Yes.
We have discussed today Japan
jRPGs.
jRPGs.
Yes.
Also, we've done some comparison with Japanime or just plain anime.
Yeah.
Because it's relevant. Mm-hmm. They're very similar styles and art and philosophies behind both.
Mm-hmm. Basically, it came down to that jRPGs are to Western RPGs what anime is to cartoons, and it is far muddier than people realize.
I know I'm a fan of my sparkling cartoons.
Same here.
All right, so this is scenario number 3. It's lead. We are doing
Traps and riddles.
Traps and riddles, and while we're on the traps and riddles concept, I should tell you a little about what these particular traps and riddles are. This is from Challenge of Champions 3 from Dungeon Magazine. And it was written by Jonathan M. Richards, the artwork by Fred Rawls, and the cartography was by someone who went by the name Diesel.
Diesel, okay.
Not to be mistaken for Vin.
Okay.
Dungeon Magazine was the May and June 2000 issue, year 2000, issue number 80, volume 14, number 2. And the scenario we're doing now is lead, as opposed to lead.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get that popping and see how long it takes you to figure out the obvious.
So I've got 4 characters. I've got a fighter. I have a wizard. I have a paladin, which is my divine caster. Is it my divine caster? I think so.
Yes, and your paladin is your divine.
And then I have my thief, yes. Okay.
So one of the things to point out here is it doesn't matter what level he is.
Right.
Because he can only use the equipment or spells he's given.
Yep.
If he's got to cast a spell, he'll be given a magic item that will cast the spell for him. And he can, like I said, only use the equipment that's been given to him.
Yeah.
We haven't started the clock yet because we haven't started the description. When we say the word begin, the clock starts.
Right.
All right. The next scenario takes place in a 15 by 15 foot room. Inside are 3 identical metal treasure chests. Each one has a short chain and a manacle attached to one handle. The manacles are snapped around the ankle of the wizard, the warrior, and the paladin.
So it's just the thief.
Yep. So just the thief is free. Up above the door is a tiny niche. This one tests the rogue, says Justin, the gruff guild warrior, proctoring the scenario, as he snaps a manacle around the rogue's wrist. Attached to the rogue's manacle is a short chain with a metal key. Now listen up. This here key opens all 3 of them chests. One of them is safe to open, and inside is another key to both the door and your ankle manacles. The other 2 chests are both trapped. Anyone touching a trapped chest when it's opened is killed, which means both the rogue and whoever is chained to the chest. Up there in the cubby hole by the ceiling is a ring of X-ray vision that might be useful. Of course, I ain't seen a body yet that could climb up this particular wall. Only you, rogue, can open the chest. So make sure you open the right one. You have 15 minutes to get out of this room. Begin.
So how tall is that wall?
The cubbyhole is above the door is a 2 foot. Oops. Button. Coming above the door is 2 inches high, 5 inches wide, 2 inches deep, and 15 feet above the floor. The walls are all too smooth to climb.
Okay. How large are the chests?
As big as you see there. So they're standard height chests, which looks like they're about 2 feet tall.
2 feet tall? Okay, and the traps will only go off if I open up the chests.
If you open up the chest. Okay. The dotted lines represent how far the other people chained to him can move.
Okay. The paladin is going to attempt to pick up his chest. Can he pick up the chest?
Yes.
Okay. The warrior is going to try and pick up his chest. Can he pick up the chest?
Yes.
The wizard, the weakest one, is going to try and pick up his chest. Can he pick up the chest?
Barely.
Barely. Okay. They are going to pick up their chests and move it to the side right underneath the cubbyhole. They're going to stack the chests on top of each other.
Okay, so those are 2 to 3 feet tall.
Uh-huh.
And you have a manacle to all of them. So if you put all 3 of them, somebody's going to be dangling from a manacle.
Yeah, let's say that is the wizard. The wizard has spent enough time having swirlies to be upside down. Yes.
All right.
Okay. So that is how tall is that stack of chests?
We'll say it's 9 feet.
9 feet. Okay. So that leaves 6 feet to the cubbyhole.
Yep.
Okay. The rogue is going to climb up the chests and try to get into that cubbyhole to get that ring of extra vision.
Okay, and the chest, because they have rounded tops, collapse.
I'm going to do it again, and the wizard, the warrior, and the paladin are going to brace the chests so that they don't collapse again. The rogue is going to do it again.
Okay. With the people trying to brace and balance them, leaning them up against the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, you climb up there, and you can obviously reach the 15-foot mark.
Uh-huh.
In fact, you can look into the 15-foot mark. You don't just have to reach up and reach and grab things.
Okay.
All right. And you pull out a ring that the person down below told you was a ring of X-ray vision.
Right. Okay. Once he has that, we're going to bring all the chests down, and the wizard, the rogue, is going to put on the ring and see which chest has the other keys.
All right. So when they're sitting there on the ground and you're looking at them through there,
Yeah.
you notice that you cannot see into the chests. They must be lead-lined.
They must be lead-lined. Okay. Okay. I need to determine which one of these is trapped. Which one isn't trapped. With the ring of X-ray vision, he's going to see if there's anything that he can look around and see through. That,
the door.
The door.
Your people.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot, from your angle, you cannot see through those chests.
Okay. Jeez, I thought I was going to be able to see through the chest, and this was all about getting that X-ray vision. Huh. So the wizard, the 3 manacled people are going to put their chests back in the positions that they were originally at, because the goal is to unlock everyone.
Yep, and you can lock everyone once you've opened the chest with the key to the manacles.
Yeah, it's a matter of finding which chest has the key with the manacles. The rest are trapped.
Yes.
Okay. All three of them are lead-lined. The paladin is going to pick up his chest, he's going to shake it.
No sound.
The warrior is going to pick up his chest and shake it.
No sound.
The paladin is going to go over to the wizard's chest and shake it.
No sound.
And anyone who is, touching a chest that is trapped, that opens, will die. Means at the very least it's going to be the thief.
The thief and whoever's attached by the chain will die.
Right. Okay.
You're going to hate me on this one.
There is something I'm missing. There is something that I'm missing. And it's just this, right?
Just that picture there.
Just that picture. Okay.
The same one that's on the screen.
Okay. Is there... I have the Ring of X-Ray Vision.
Mm-hmm.
We know about the chests. Was there any other supplies that I've forgotten?
No. You have the key manacled to your wrist.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Ring of X-Ray Vision. You got the 3 chests. That's all the equipment. And there's the door.
The key manacled to my wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Will the key that's manacled to my wrist unlock my manacle?
No.
Will the key manacled to my wrist unlock the other manacles? It will only open up the chests.
It'll only open up the chests.
Okay. If I unlock a chest... but fail to... but do not open it, will it trigger the trap?
Won't know until you try.
Okay. So, I'm going to have the paladin sit on his chest to make sure that it can't possibly open.
Okay.
The rogue is going to try and just unlock, see if the key even works in that lock.
It does.
It does.
You now have an unlocked chest with the paladin sitting on it, and it has not been opened.
Okay. He is then going to withdraw the key and attempt that same maneuver with the wizard and the warrior, making sure that they do not open their chests.
Okay. They are all unlocked.
They're all unlocked.
Mm-hmm. And somebody's sitting on the top, preventing the top from opening.
Okay. He's going to attempt to use the Ring of X-Ray Vision to look into the keyhole to see if we can see anything.
You can see into the keyhole, but then, there's lead behind the lock, so you can't see anything beyond the key itself.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, dun, dun.
5 minutes left. There is something that... I know I'm overthinking this.
Or underthinking it.
Or underthinking it.
Overbaked, underbaked, half-baked.
Does the key unlock the door?
Nope.
No?
In fact, you can see that the key only would fit in the chest locks. It won't even fit into the identical manacle and door locks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All of them are unlocked.
And you certainly don't have lockpicks.
Right. What am I missing? What am I missing? At this point, I know I'm going to fail.
You know, you might think of something.
Yeah.
Think of how you have examined everything. And that's way too many hints for you. Da, 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 da. I don't know the theme music song for the waiting song, which is I'm a little teapot, short and stout. I'm
trying to see if there is like a word puzzle in here that I'm not seeing. I feel like at that point I'm overthinking.
They're sitting there, swinging their legs.
Uh-huh. I feel like I'm in the most boring Saw movie ever. Oh,
you
geez.
must cut off somebody. Well, it's kind of a Saw movie type thing, because all you have to do is open one of them and kill two of you.
Yeah.
You got a 33.3% chance.
Well, the thing is, and then it'd be like, oh, well, all of them are unlocked, but I can kill two, and then there'll be a 50% chance of whether or not I kill three. I don't like these odds. Don't like these odds at all.
Hey, if you get it wrong, the other two people have a 50% chance of guessing right.
Yeah, no, it's the Monty Hall question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jeez. I'm going to look at the X-ray ring and see if there's an engraving on the X-ray ring that says red herring.
You see no engravings on the side of the X-ray ring.
I've got 2 minutes left.
You're gonna
time to be risky.
Okay.
We are going to open up the paladins.
All right. You open up the paladins.
Yeah.
And inside is the ring, wrapped in cloth so as not to make any noise. Also, when you look inside the thing, you'll notice the lead lining goes up the sidewalls and over the top, but there's no lead on the floor.
Oh.
And you got lucky. You had a 33.33% chance of getting it right, and you picked the correct one.
Yeah.
With a minute and a half to spare.
Okay.
So after you get that out, you're able to unmanacle everybody, open the door, and make it through by... Yes, the Monty Hall problem is a brain tease in the form of a probability puzzle. Yes, and you just did this. Congratulations.
I did not like this because I was thinking everything else was lead lined. I was expecting if I flip over the bottom and check the bottom, it's gonna be lead lined too. Oh.
Nope. It was that was the solution, was to look on the bottom.
Look on the bottom. Flip it over, look on the bottom.
Also, you could have just put the paladin's chest there, have the paladin stand on top of the chest, and then you climb up the paladin. It would have been an easier and safer than stacking the boxes on top of each other.
Yeah. But I wanted to make sure that I had more than enough space to get up there. Oh. Okay.
And just so you know, this is your ring.
That's from the 2024 DMG, right?
2014. Well, it's
from the new DMG.
It's also from the old DMG.
Okay.
That ring, the ring picture hasn't changed.
Okay. That was a creepy looking ring. It reminds me.
It has an eyeball in the middle of it.
It reminds me of Beastmaster.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Old school cheesy 80s movie if you're interested in that reference.
Rated PG.
Probably closer to PG-13.
Well, they didn't have PG-13 at the time. It was closer to R.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Congratulations. You won by pure, unadulterated luck.
Yeah. The reason why I went with the Paladin is if the Paladin dies, then we know we're screwed. If anyone else dies, then I'd rather just like risk it all.
Okay. So let's go ahead and move into our unboxing phase.
Yes.
I'll take down this.
And Anthony.
All right. In fact, let's put those, we're going to take those downstairs.
Okay.
Because tomorrow my group will be performing here. Not performing. They'll be doing a D&D game.
Okay. So we have. Let me get this out of the way.
Okay. So the first object up for bid.
We're bidding on this?
Sure. Send me all your money.
This, if I recall, is the new 2024 Dungeon Masters screen.
Sorry to interrupt you, but before you go piling into that thing,
Yeah?
show them a close-up of my hat so
yes.
they can see what the Call of Cthulhu Keeper badge looks like. Now this is, yep, there's your sanity meter that rotates right there. This can be gotten at the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society. They sell these.
Cool. Cool.
Which is hplhs.com, and then you can buy one of these yourself.
Okay.
But anyways, moving on to the object at hand. 2024 rules for Dungeons and Dragons has its new DM screen.
Yes.
You get, for some reason, when you got the early copy of the DMG,
Yeah.
they did not come out with the DM screen.
Yeah.
So when the regular release of the DM screen came out, now you can get the DM screen. As you can see, the nice artwork there.
And it's in a nice folder.
So it's in a mailing case kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then a folder. It's a little excessive cardboard, but you know, I'm not minding much.
Yeah. Although I feel like this would rip easily, so I'm gonna be nice and gentle with that.
And then I probably will never take those with me whenever I go anywhere.
Yeah. And this would be a half one, where some gem screens.
Well, it's not a half. It's called a portrait.
Portrait, yes.
Yeah, because letter versus portrait setting, it is, which I prefer because of the fact that
It gives you.
I can see a little bit better. But as you can see, it's already covering my face completely.
Yes. Actually, let's just.
So the artwork that you notice on here, it represents every race from the player's handbook.
Yeah.
Every class from the player's handbook. Mm-hmm. Two gold dragons on the other side, and a red dragon in the middle.
Yes.
And you will also notice, if you look carefully, there's some Easter eggs. Like there's a big, I don't know if he's a paladin or any other kind of warrior, but he's got an artificial leg.
Yes.
Um,
Down. This character has a prosthetic leg.
Right. So there are details to notice on your characters for other pieces of representation, etc.
Yeah.
Now, you answer this for me.
Yep.
I think you know the 2024 art better than I do. I'm thinking that the person in front's a halfling and the person in the back is a gnome behind the half orc, or is it a full-fledged orc? I can't even.
Well, it'd be a full-fledged orc because there are no half races.
Oh, that's right. Now, the reason they don't do half races because the original half races all assumed that the other half was human.
Yeah.
So you can have a half-breed character. They just won't be called half orcs because it'll be half orc, half elf.
It's basically the way that they've designed the ruling is you can be half mixed whatever, but mechanically you're going to determine what what you tend to side more with. So if you're like a half elf, well, okay, yeah, you've got a human male forefather and an elf female as a mother, but mechanically kind of favor your mother, then you're going to use the elf stats.
Well, yeah, and they did say that there is a way to create half-breeds. It's just they're no longer having the presumption that the other half is always human.
Yeah, which I appreciate.
Look on the other side. You see the other side of where your folded art is. Right there. You see the girl behind the paladin type? She has impetigo.
Oh, yeah, the it's a skin I don't want to
It's a melanoma, not melanoma. It is melanin distribution where it's not evenly distributed throughout the so you have areas with hyperpigmentation or areas with hypopigmentation,
which is not enough.
The most common version of it is people with hypopigmentation over their normal pigmentation.
Right.
Now, I was trying to figure out whether that was on the other side of the page, which one was the gnome and which one was the halfling.
I would argue that this looks like a gnome to me.
That's what I thought. But look at those pointy ears on the halfling.
Yeah, so that may actually be. We may actually have a crazed gnome and a more. This may be the that may be the gnome, and this may be the halfling. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, that is a squatted character, and is only slightly shorter than this, and the gnomes tend to be taller than the halflings. So yeah, this would be the halfling. A plethora of pigments, yes. Welcome back, Barbace.
Hey, did you see any of our beginning stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
The main symptom of vitiligo is a complete loss of pigment in the skin, which results in patches of white. It can occur in any area of the body and can affect small or large patches of skin. And that was actually a character creation option in Baldur's Gate.
Right, yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay, so now you got the stuff in there, and I should have brought up a standard, the 2014, to just look at the differences.
I know that I saw the interview that they had. Welcome back. We'd love to have you when we have you. I saw some of the interview when it came to the design of this, and they went in a lot with the rulings on here, where they were trying to keep some of the more commonly referenced information on the side wings, and the less referenced items in the middle, because some people have their laptops that's going to block that, so they want people to be able to see it. So, for example, here we have conditions. All the conditions for from blinded to unconscious,
which is going to be done regularly.
Yes.
By the way, the official answer is the guy that looks like a warlock.
Yeah.
And the rounded ears. He is a halfling. The guy with the people with the crazy ears, that is a gnome.
I'm going to have to disagree with you, Bibaris. This is still just a DM screen. I have the 3rd edition fortification one at home. It is a lot heavier duty.
Oh, show me a GM screen that we just took down. You know the one we have up normally?
Oh, yeah.
That's a fort. Well, it's actually, there are ones that look like castle walls, which are fortifications.
Yeah. Well, this is more like a barbican.
Yeah, that's a nice wood. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the wooden one. I have one at home where part of it is plaster, and it is heavy.
All right. Now this one, unlike the original, which had too many pictures on the inside, and not enough stuff to look at. This one's better than that.
Yeah, very limited. I see one. Really, only 2 pictures on the inside. We have a town, and this angle is weird. Yeah, just some landscapes. On the outer end, we have rules for cover, audible distance, visibility outdoors, weather, travel pace, and travel terrain. And then on the insides, here and here, we have improvising damage, actions, damage severity, and level. Skills, object armor class, object hit points, food, drink, and lodging, typical difficulty classes, light sources, and obscured areas. I mean, I personally would have liked to see, what is it? I would want to see like the food, drink, and lodging kind of on the one of the wings, but I can understand why it's there.
Yeah, and it's you shouldn't be buying food, more than once or twice a session.
But for me, that also ties into one of the things I've been working on with the treating settlements as organisms.
Oh, you know what? That just reminded me. I had a custom-made 5th edition GM screen that was given to me.
Yeah.
And not like that custom-made where it was the wood and carved and painted and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it used a standard cover, but it had pages of references. So I literally would flip up and look for this reference here.
Yeah.
It was like everything you need to know.
Okay, so we also have
now this is special. Before we even open this,
a box.
we had talked previously about a podcast that was made into a role-playing game. Mm-hmm. This podcast that was made into a role-playing game. The podcast isn't older than the other one, but the this role-playing game is technically older than the next one because the next role-playing game based on a podcast. The Welcome to Night Vale was the earlier podcast.
Right.
But it became a Kickstarter after this one did.
Okay.
This Kickstarter is where is it? We gotta find it.
Trying to make sure that the mailing information isn't on screen. We don't want to, dox you.
Yeah, don't visit me unless you're bringing lots of money. All right. It is called the Mangus Archives.
The Mangus Archives.
Right, and you can go to rustyquill.com/show/the Mangus Archives to actually listen to this podcast at Rusty Quill. Okay. It's really great. Now we're looking at the Magnus Archives role-playing game. At least that's what I hope this is.
Yeah. So we've got a postcard.
And it's got a little code on the bottom. What's that say there?
Where will Monte Cook Games take you next? Darkestwoods.com.
Oh, Darkest Woods is the new Kickstarter. I've already went in on as cheap as I could make myself go.
Yeah.
But it is not a sequel, but in the same universe and same rules types, and can be played with the other one too if you want, to The Darkest House.
Okay.
It is a horror game meant to be played online, though you can play it in person. And if you do the play it in person part, you get props.
And much love to Monty Cook. I love the quality stuff that they produce.
They do.
Yeah.
And I really wish I could have gotten both sets and gotten the props for the thing.
Ooh, that is a hefty book.
It is. Now, I don't have it in there. There should have been a cassette tape. I'm going to ask for. There's supposed to be an audio cassette for. That's a prop that I got for getting in early on this.
Yeah.
So I'll have to. In fact, there's the cassette player.
Ooh, that is. I love it when they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is based on a podcast. It is kind of a horror role-playing game, and you play investigators.
Now, Bivars mentioned, do y'all review only physical media, or do you ever take a gander at digital stuff?
Yes.
I'm more than willing to take a look at digital stuff. It's just sometimes being able to present it to, for the screen can be a bit challenging at times.
We prefer stuff, when you're talking digital, if you're talking like a role-playing game,
We had an entire episode on Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, computer role-playing games, that's one thing. But if you're talking about stuff that's in print, that's our preference. We don't like to do reviews on things that are no longer in print because we don't want people to go, oh God, that's cool. Let me not get it.
Yeah. We try to we're presenting something. You can actually get this. There's a few things that we've come across where it's great. We can't faithfully, suggest it to people because they can't get it anymore. We don't want to be one of those groups where it's like, oh, this is great. It's a shame you weren't on the ground floor when you had access to it.
Yeah, like the 1980s DC Comics RPG.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is on another Kickstarter.
Is on another Kickstarter?
Yeah, they're reproducing that. They're also reproducing the original Elf Quest. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. Why don't you read the back or something to give us... I personally have not seen this at all.
Yeah.
You saw him cut the box open.
So one of the benefits of being of something being digital is, once it's online, it's always online. Yeah. But it's also one of the reasons why I like that Cubicle 7 redid Twilight 2000, because I love Twilight 2000, but until they reproduced it, it wasn't in print anymore. Okay, so the Magnus Archives role-playing game. Deep within the archives of the Magnus Institute, an unconventional organization dedicated to researching and cataloging the esoteric and weird, dark things are stirring.
This is $75 for the hardcover, $25 for a PDF of it.
Yeah.
So the digital parts do exist for this.
And Perth mentions, but once online goes offline, then so does it. Yeah, there is that issue, and we are aware of that. Monty Cook, Cypher Systems, and Rusty Quill, trademark. An odd figure beckons drunken pubgoers into an alleyway, never to be seen again. A meat grinder somehow compels its users to merely feed it their own limbs. A late-night subway train burrows itself into the earth, all but crushing its lone occupant. For 200 years, the Magnus Institute has quietly collected statements like these from people of all walks of life, detailing their personal experiences with the supernatural. So, I love the wording on that. But let's crack this thing open. Oh, they're using a thing that I like when they have fake parchment. But if they have this on anything other than these kind of pages where they have information, that can be a problem.
The fly leaves.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff again. I'm actually a little confused. I have to go back through some emails or stuff.
Yeah.
Because when I go to the BackerKit, BackerKit.com, where they were doing because this wasn't a Kickstarter, it was a BackerKit.
Mm-hmm.
According to it, I backed it for a file clerk.
What does that do for you?
That's all PDFs.
Oh, so you may have access to all the PDFs.
Well, yeah, I should have access to all the PDFs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not all of them, because there's a special, I guess, for Mr. Spider,
Mm-hmm.
is a limited edition thing you had to get the higher levels on. But, and all the prop stuff, I should have gotten the player's guide, the role playing. I'm gonna have to check that because I don't know where my PDFs are that I should have gotten, and I should have got a cassette tape. And did I order this separately?
I don't know your ordering patterns. I can't help you with that. So we've got an introduction, basic concepts, character description and skills, character type, character focus, equipment, ciphers. Don't get to rules of the game until chapter 7. Character arcs and advancement, the statement, the entities, the world affairs, monsters and NPCs, artifacts and books. Then at chapter 14, running the game. Chapter 15, adventure 1, the resurrection mound. Then chapter 16, adventure 2, liquefy. So at least they've got 2 adventures in there.
So I do want to mention some things that this game includes. Dozens of creatures and NPCs to encounter, including beloved and feared NPCs from the Magnus Archives podcast, such as Jonathan Sims, Elias Bouchard, and Jürgen Leitner. Complete rules tailored for a story-based tabletop role-playing game experience in the eerie world of the popular The Magnus Archives horror podcast. Mm-hmm. And there's a Magnus follow-up Magnus thing. It's called the Magnus Project.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a role-playing game. It has a board game instead.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna flip through so that you get, look at some of these pictures.
An innovative process for creating witness statements to launch each adventure, investing the entire gaming group and creating an entire new experience each session, and unique mechanics for handling fear and stress, and for the remarkable change that dealing in the dark forces conflict on a character over time.
Mm-hmm. What was that, a mouth on the wall? Oh,
yeah. So what do you think of the artwork so far?
There's been different types. All of them have been, I think, fairly decent. They don't seem to be really interfering too much with the text, which is pretty good. Yeah.
Now, do you know enough about Cypher to see if this is a Cypher system?
Yes, it is a Cypher system.
Okay.
It says right there on the back, Cypher system. Right there. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know enough about the Cypher system.
Okay.
What is the Cypher system?
Cypher system is the Montcook rule system that is used for No Thank You Evil.
Okay.
Numenera. And Old Gods of Appalachia.
The only one I'm familiar with is No Thank You Evil.
Yeah, well, that is a Cypher system.
Okay.
Game. There's other kinds of ones out there to find.
Does that mean that there is a awesome stat in the Cypher system?
Maybe. Well, like there's I will be getting a Cypher system starter set coming up. Numenera, Arcana, the Ancients, Invisible Sun, and No Thank You Evil, Old Gods of the Appalachia,
That looks... Take a look. Oh, that is beautiful. That is a nice picture.
I am going to get the Cypher System starter set. I think I already said that. The Magnus Archives system had all kinds of cool stuff that I don't have physical copies of, and eventually I'm going to have to add them to me. So we got the role-playing game there.
Yeah.
Then you get the player's guide. I have a PDF version of that, but they have the print version for another $20. And plus there's the free preview of the game, which I have in PDF form. But there were some things on that backer kit.
I saw this. I came across this. I love the detail on that lighter. Yeah.
There's stuff in the backer kit that you just cannot get now, and it makes me cry a little bit.
Hearth, I see you getting that lighter.
Some of the things we missed out on are book plates. A guest for Mr. Spider. The XP decks, which I think is standard Cypher System stuff. But there's a file folder set which has got props in it. There's actually a play mat. And yeah, I'm just jealous.
Oh, I'm experiencing FOMO there.
Oh, no. It's not fear of missing out. I've already missed. But as you can see, there's this is another one of those horror themed things that I like to do.
Yeah.
Also, this is in addition to Call of Cthulhu, this is also a great game system to start somebody on before you push them into Darkest House or Darkest Woods.
Yeah.
Old Gods of Appalachia would be another good one for that. It's another horror themed, and I guess I'm a little on the villain side.
With the body count that you have with the player characters? Nah.
You kill a few hundred player characters and suddenly you have a reputation.
Look, on a professional level, I have issues. You're leaving too much of a trail. Okay? You're leaving too much of a trail. If you traumatize them like I do, where they're afraid to even talk about it anymore, then there's less likely of it coming back to you.
Yeah, they don't get a reputation because nobody wants to even admit they played with you. Is that a good thing? I need that people want to play with me and want those experiences that I'm inflicting on them.
They ask for the experiences and they just shake. Hearth doesn't know what you're talking about. See? I've conditioned them properly. Different types of villains.
Right. Yes. When you have a TPK in My Little Pony, I have not done that.
Wow.
I have not done that.
See, you do a TPK with My Little Pony. I'll start them on My Little Pony and have them questioning whether or not I've changed it over to Happy Tree Friends.
Well, you get the Chaos Beast out there, Discord, and
Discord. I've switched them out with Bill Cipher.
No, no, you do a battle between Bill Cipher and Discord, and you put the players in between. No, stop it!
I think Applejack would Applejack's too. No. You go with Pinkie Pie.
You know what?
Pinkie Pie is a serial killer.
I just thought of this. I mean, I didn't think of it. I mean, I think that already exists, but there is a one of those versus shows where they like do Superman versus Captain Tomorrow or whatever. And there is a, I believe there is a Bill Cipher versus Discord.
Yeah. Death Battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel Discord won that one.
Yeah, I think he did.
He has more experience dealing with the nature of chaos, I think. And honestly, when it comes to there's also Celebrity Deathmatch. When it comes to the 5 ponies?
Mm-hmm.
I could find the serial killers to match all of their personalities.
Well, sure.
Yeah. What type of tangent did we get on where we're talking about serial killers overlapping with My Little Pony?
That's not right.
Oh,
the boy's not right.
See, I came across a picture where someone had the standard 9 alignment chart.
Yeah.
But they were doing alignments for game masters.
I saw one for eggs.
For eggs?
Yeah. The way you put your eggs in the carton.
Mm-hmm. So
it burns your alignment.
When it came to the alignment, lawful, evil, good, chaotic, I feel like if we had you as a GM, not you as a person, but your GMing style, it's lawful evil.
Oh, I'm lawful evil?
Yeah, you're lawful evil.
Okay. Maybe.
The amount of bodies you have, no, it's not good, it's not neutral, lawful evil.
I think I'm lawful neutral. I don't kill characters. Characters make bad mistakes and die.
Okay. Whereas, I know I'm not on the lawful side. So,
you're a chaos monkey.
Yeah, but am I chaotic neutral or am I chaotic evil? Because I can't claim that I'm good.
Yeah.
As a GM, I can't claim that I'm
I'm gonna say I am lawful neutral. And I honestly can't take the blame for your bad decisions. Yeah,
I know Hearth Holmes. Even your play style, Hearth, is chaotic good. I've seen her try to start off as a neutral evil character. Like, yeah, you're ending up in chaotic good.
Right.
Start neutral evil, you're ending at chaotic good. The world that I put people through, though, not a good world. Not a good world.
Maybe I can go a little bit. Okay, lawful neutral with evil tendency because I like horror.
Yeah.
And I really, really like being on the dungeon master side of the horror.
And what would you place my GMing style as? Not my playing style, my GMing style. What alignment? I'm curious. Not all horror is evil.
That's true.
And Hearth, you can weigh on this as well, because I know you've been subjected to a lot of my GMing as well.
I would say you are chaotic neutral with evil tendencies.
I think that's fair.
And not all horror is evil. I'm going to have to agree with you as a genre.
Yeah.
Horror, I mean, come on. Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. Not exactly evil.
Lawful neutral does, includes indiscriminate use of fireball, right? Because it's technically not chaotic. Now, see, you're getting into the chaotic side with the word indiscriminate.
Yeah, it's not lawful. Indiscriminate is what makes it chaotic.
Yeah, give me just a moment.
Yeah. Efficient use of lawful and thinking it out, that's good. So we're going to wrap this up. Mummy wrap.
Yeah, I would say creating a labyrinthine maze out of a wall of fire, that's lawful neutral.
Okay, Tucker's Kobolds, flammable maze.
You said Tucker's Kobolds, that's chaotic. Moving on. Moving on. You said Tucker's Kobold. They're chaotic.
Yes.
They will fight you on that.
But the fact that they will use the fireball on your flammable maze. And
yes. Yes.
Okay. My name is John Welker.
Yep. My name is Daniel Ivy.
This has been the RPG Talk Show.
Yes.
Now, I haven't been pushing for sales lately, but I do or donations lately. RPGresearch.com/donate. We need the money so we can keep these shows going, so we can increase our community involvement and our research.
Yeah. And our outreach.
Yes. And we need toys as much as things. We do have a museum/library that we are ready to put up as soon as we get a new place again. So I do want to remind you guys of all that. I do also want to remind everybody that please send us emails and communications. We are on most of the communication. We need to get on Blue Sky, maybe Mastodon.
Yeah. I know that I'm already on Blue Sky, but yeah, I think we do need to,
As RPG research, we need to do that. But yeah, email us, meet us on the different what's your other columns, you know, like whatever Blue Sky is, and Twitter or Twitch, you know, social media platforms. That's the word I'm looking for. And
we're responding to whether or not to you know, 2 bottles of you know, ever-flowing chalices attached to the back of a gnome. If the gnome has control over the 2 ever-flowing chalices, and the gnome cares about law, then it is lawful. If the gnome doesn't have control, which is the proper thing to do, then it is chaotic.
Yes, you can make Blue Sky handle your domain name.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
I think that's normally a Hawk thing, and he's been busy.
Yeah, he's been extremely busy.
Yeah.
If this guy got any busier, he would probably just die.
If he got any busier, I'd probably strap him down to a bed. It's like, no, you're taking a break now.
You know.
Yeah.
He may need medical intervention if he gets any more busy.
Yeah.
But we would like to say, we'd like to hear from you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So let us know what you're doing and thinking.
Thanks for the heads up, by the way.
Thank you very much for watching our show. We will be on YouTube with this exact same broadcast in a couple weeks, couple months.
Generally, it's about 2 weeks. I've been trying to do. I've been trying to make sure that all the shows that we've had eventually get to YouTube. Our Patreons get it first, and then generally 2 weeks after we put the entire Raw up on YouTube.
Of course, if you're subscribing to Twitch, you can get us from the moment we do a live show on there. You don't have to wait for YouTube at all.
Mm-hmm. You can enjoy the train wreck of our conversations at your leisure on YouTube.
Okay, let's see how well you remember how we close this out. What do you say?
We will see you next week, barring any unfortunate circumstances. I'm Daniel Ivy. This has been the RPG Talk Show. This is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research.
And have a good night.
And dream well.